So why are my stones not filling the parts feeder holes?
Your parts feeder is actually outfitted with 30 individual holes. Okay, so we should have 30 stones being delivered to our gun at all times. Now, most people don't realize it, but there's actually two distinct sides of each of these plates. Okay, on the newer machines, they will be labeled what side plate this is. For instance, this is labeled rhinestones. Okay, and this is for rhinestuds or rhinestones, anything that has the height of a stone. The opposite side, as you can see, has a shallower hole, and this is only for nail heads. So if you have the nail head side up, then the height of the stone will not allow it to sit properly in the holes, and it'll just fall out. Okay? So the first thing you want to look for is make sure that you have the rhinestone side in first. Another way of knowing if you do not have the writing on it, on the plate itself, is you could tell by the depth of the hole, or number two is the stud on this 1V2P. Each plate has this metal stud in it. You can see this metal stud actually has a ring etched around it. That ring indicates that this is the rhinestone side. The opposite side, which is nail head, you can see the stud is flush. Okay, there's no ring etched out of it. So if this is what you're seeing, then you want to reverse your plate. In doing so, you want to make sure that you push the stud so it is flush. Okay. Next thing you want to do is locate or find the tension that the plate has. Normally your issue will be more centered on an individual hopper. If you're dealing with a 1V6P machine, which is our 6-color machine, hopper number 2 doesn't drop the stones, but hopper number 1 does. But what you want to do is go to your other plate, like this one here, and then rotate the plate by hand and feel the tension that's on that plate. Looking at hopper number 2, which is dropping stones down, if we turn it, it's kind of roulette-ish. You know, you can see it kind of wants to keep turning and turning and turning. That is because the pressure points on the back of the plate are not adjusted right. Removing the plate, you can see that we have what are called ball plungers. We have 2 of them. They're white and they're spring-loaded on the top. And these provide dampening pressure on the plate to counteract the vibration that's coming from the motor that's rotating the plate. And over time, these will lower themselves. If you think about it, my parts feeder plate is round, my hopper is round, and these ball plungers, which are screwed into the hopper, are round as well. So over time, as the plate is spinning clockwise, this starts to lower itself. All right, if this one here is lower than this one, then what is happening is every time that gun comes down to take a stone, it's flipping the plate. See that angle it's being placed? And the stones on this side are dropping out. So by the time this comes over for the gun to pick it up, there are no stones there. So what we want to do is we want to adjust these ball plungers to have a better effect on the dampening effect of the motor on the plate. Now the tools you will need is a small screwdriver, okay? And first of all, you want to look at the ball plungers and make sure that they're the same height. Most likely, this one will be lower on this side, okay? So what I'll do is from the back side of the plate, you'll see the motor's right here. On each side of the motor, we have this access hole where I can get to the back side of that ball plunger. So while I set my screwdriver into that hole, you can see I have a regular straight screwdriver. I'll set it right into that hole. And I'll adjust so I'm at the right height. I'm matching the same height as the other side. Once I do that, then I'll come back to the front, reinsert my plate, secure the wheel knob. Yes, my plate is counterclockwise. And now we're still roulette. Now we want to adjust. So now what we'll do, we'll start adjusting each one. So if we come around to the side again, now we're going to adjust them slowly, one at a time. You got the hole here. I'm going to turn it a half a turn. There we go. And I'll come over to the hole on the other side and adjust that one. And then I'll test. We're almost there. It's not as light as it was before, but it's still turning. See, I turn it real quick like this. It should stop immediately when I take my hand off, and it's still not. So what I'll do, adjust a little bit more. A little bit of adjustment is a lot. because remember, the heads of these ball plungers are spring-loaded. And we test again. Almost there. One more adjustment, and it should be there. There we go, and then this one here. A little turn. And you can see it stopping immediately when I take my hand off. That's what we want to see. We don't want too much pressure, okay? Too much pressure will counteract what we just tried to do. Another thing you can do is, now that you've adjusted it, match it up with the other hopper that you know works fine. Make sure the tension is same. Okay?
What if my parts feeder plate needs constant adjusting?
Constant adjustment would be that for some reason when you line up your gun to the stone, you make your alignment adjustments, okay? And then as the machine runs, it's running fine. But as it progresses through the design, for some reason, now when the gun comes over, she's no longer lining up on the hole. So what we want to do is, first of all, we want to check to see if those ball plungers have way too much tension, okay? Too much tension for those ball plungers will cause the motor not to spin the plate and stop it on a dime. It fights it. The other thing is, you want to make sure that this metal stud is not pushed out. If it's pushed out, and let's say if I have SS6 stones, the stones will get between the high wall of the hopper, which is this, and that stud, and this will cause the plate to push the stone up against it and then jump out of registration. So make sure this is flush with the side of the plate you're working from. The other thing is I want you to look. This stud is just metal, but right here is the sensor that's sensing that stud, okay? And it has a height value in here, okay? If this is too far down, then it can't sense the stud, so that could jump out of registration. If it's too high, it could hit the stud on the back side and make the parts feeder plate jump out of registration. So what I'll do is, you see where your sensor is, line up the stud to be lined up right with that sensor. Put your wheel knob in, tighten it, and then with your thumb on top of it, just go over top of that sensor and see if you feel it contacting. If it's contacting, then on this side of the machine, you can see that here's the sensor. It's all threaded. You loosen this nut up, and then you back this away just a little bit until you feel that it's no longer making contact, and you tighten this nut up again. Most of the time, that's not going to be the problem. The most common problem is actually my ball plungers are adjusted too high, and it's causing my motor over time to start to slip the plate on the heads of those ball plungers. One unique test that we can do is by taking a marker. And let me grab my marker. And what you want to do is you want to go to the system menu and go to Magpart, and we'll deal with the right side. So we hit set, it's on right, and we press center on parts feeder plate, and you'll see the parts feeder plate will spin. When it stops, I want you to make a mark on the plate and the high wall of the hopper, just like that. So now we have two distinct marks. And we're going to press set on parts feeder again and watch that plate spin. When the plate stops, both lines should line up perfectly, just like that. And we're going to do this about 10 times, just to confirm. Now, if it's coming out, like the first 2 times it lines up, and then the 3rd and 4th time it starts to come out, you want to call our support, or go to our website, coldesi.com/support, put a ticket in, and a technician will call you and show you where it may need to be adjusted. And you can see right here, this one here is lining up perfectly. Each time, it should line up perfectly. If it doesn't, then the most common problem would be that there we go. This part that the wheel knob is secured to is loose, and therefore it's kind of coming off of origin. And you can see that we have set screws, one right here and one right there. Okay, and if those set screws are loose, then the plate will actually come out of adjustment. Okay.